Hey there! I first want to start off by thanking all of my new subscribers who started listening to my podcast this past week. I appreciate you so much. You are what inspires me to do all that I do on a regular basis. I have had so many great people reach out to me about my last episode and my social media post about our town's budget vote, and it is truly incredible to see how many like minded people are living amongst us in the community who do not get to have a voice. So that leads me to my next topic. On today's episode, I want to discuss fear mongering and being too afraid to speak up. If we haven't met yet, hi, I'm Kathleen Sfizzato. I'm a wife, proud mother of 6, a real estate broker and investor with 21 years of experience in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. I've helped people through everything from first-time home sales to estate sales, divorces, relocations, you name it. But today, we're here to talk about being forced to stay silent. Living in a predominantly Democratic part of the country, those of us who relate more to Republican views are oftentimes ostracized around here. If you don't go with the quote-unquote majority, you're labeled as someone who's against humankind. We saw this example last week in the voting process for our town's budget. You were made to believe that if you questioned it at all, if you didn't just accept and pass it as it was, you were not for our school or our children. This was plastered on the front door of our elementary school, on our social media pages for our community, including the Little League page and the PTO page, and went home in our kids' backpacks. Everyone was being told that teachers were being cut and our kids wouldn't have a good education without the passing of this budget. As a mother raising 6 amazing humans, I will stand tall in saying that this was one huge lie, and it's insulting that any semi-educated person could say that with a straight face. Someone needs to get their facts checked ASAP. My other huge issue with this fact is that Connecticut has a law that voting centers are supposed to be neutral. My husband and I learned this fact when we entered our town hall to vote in the presidential election wearing hats that supported our candidate and were told we were not allowed to do so. However, we went to the school to vote last week and they were allowed to have plastered on the front door flyers telling us why to vote yes with some misinformation on it. How is that not fear-mongering and steering voters? Aren't we supposed to have unbiased and let our voters research and decide for themselves? Or ask the questions they need to feel comfortable coming to a conclusion on how they'd like to vote? How was this a vote with integrity? If one viewpoint was allowed to market to the front door of our voting place and in the backpacks of our children, but the opposing side was not. I am willing to bet that the reason the turnout was so low was particularly because of these tactics that were used to sway voters and steer away anyone with an opposing view so they don't feel public shame. The people in charge should be ashamed of themselves. Is a win if it's coming with no integrity? As an avid golfer, that's a hard no for me. But I can see that some of these people are just about winning and not about integrity, and we as a community should demand more. From what I'm quickly learning around here, we have a one-party ruling in this area without any checks and balances. I was deeply disturbed by the unprofessionalism and lack of attendance for our annual meeting and budget last week, with less than 9% of our voting population showing up, so I wrote and submitted a formal written complaint. I started with the state's election commission, where I spoke to someone who let me know it was out of their jurisdiction. They referred me to the Secretary of State's office, which then tried to point me back to the state's election commission. When I told them they pointed me to them, they then said I should try our town's attorney or the Attorney General's office. I proceeded to submit to the Attorney General's office, and I'm still awaiting a response. I've also sent it to the town clerk, who said they were forwarding it to our selectmen, which from what I am told means absolutely nothing, as she was the one that started this meeting and allowed the voting to take place in the unprofessional manner that it did, and said that we use a quote-unquote honor system here in Pomfret. That still blows my mind. I want to question my listeners. What is the purpose of handling a massive budget vote with nearly $15 million on the line using an honor system? Is there any benefit in doing so? I thought about it long and hard, and the only benefit I can see is saved time from not implementing a system to check and track who we have voting. On the opposing side, I see risks where we can have duplicate votes, underage voting, and we can even have people not eligible to vote in our town voting. If this is even a possibility of risking the integrity of our election, how could the people in charge not be required to do better? I take a lot of pride in my small town, and it was made clear to me last week that some do not and don't care if we look like an embarrassment to the general public. The fact that we had to use Robert's rules and have all board members present at our recent PTO meeting to allow me to be sworn in to the upcoming year's secretary position, and the fact that I need to be background checked, as well as being present at the concession stands at our Little League games to sell snacks and handle less than $200, is why I feel so strongly that the honor system is nonsense last week and it was shady to say the least. Would you leave your concessions at the town's Little League games open to the honor system and trust our residents to put money in the cash box and grab their own snacks? No, that sounds crazy, right? But why can we trust whoever walks in and wants to check off a few boxes on a piece of paper for a budget totaling over millions of dollars to use the honor system? And somehow no one else is challenging this, and every person I've tried to send a formal complaint to just looks the other way. What are they hiding here? After last week's episode, I had so many local parents reach out to me and thank me for being our voice. I found out quickly that I'm not alone in my feelings, and there are many more just like us in this area, so many more that I didn't even expect. This was truly inspiring and comforting for my husband and me because it shows hope. We are the type of people that would do anything for anyone. We are consistently showing up every day for not only ourselves, but also our children and our community. We take a lot of pride in what we do and who we are, always sharing what we have with the world. We host lots of gatherings and game nights to bring people together. We volunteer with the time that most people looking in can't believe we can find while running businesses and raising our 6 kids who are also very active and very productive in society. Sometimes it's easy to feel like you are alone. Sometimes it's easier to just stay quiet. People have confided in me that they don't speak up because they have witnessed people with opposing views tear down their reputations on their business profiles, bully their loved ones, or even have had their property vandalized. What kind of society are we living in that we have this one-party ruling system that likes to use fear-mongering and bullying to silence a huge part of the population? It's quite frankly disgusting. I have great friends on both sides of the political spectrum, but I have noticed this common theme with those that share opposing views to mine. There's this unwavering sense of entitlement and better than them mentality. I do not know where it stems from, but my eyes were open to it during the 2020 elections and when the pandemic hit and turned everyone into a medical expert who shamed others if they questioned any of the quote-unquote science at the time. If you had questions, you were a conspiracy theorist. You didn't care about the health and well-being of others. You were selfish and you were bad. Period. End of story. 5 years later, guess what? Some of us with the questions weren't so far off, and we have no regrets, not just buying into the hype that masking your face with a piece of cloth or taking 5 batches of an experimental vaccine would save us all. Thankfully, God gave us immune systems for that, and no thanks to the quote-unquote science that tried to destroy that, but that's a whole other discussion for a whole other episode on another day. I experienced that same bullying last week when I shared facts about how our town budget was handled on a local media page on Facebook. I had cyberbullies calling me a conspiracy theorist, calling me a baby who didn't get their way, therefore I must be making up lies unless I have video proof. One bully even sent me a picture of a black cat with a camera in it. I had others argue with me that of course I'd be background checked to work the concessions at the Little League field. I'm around children. Well, newsflash, we were in a school voting last week, also around children, but not one person was checked or verified for a single thing, and they were all welcome to fill out slips of paper anonymously for a budget vote. I keep saying it, but common sense isn't so common these days. I want to end today's episode by reminding those listening and agreeing in silence, I appreciate your support and you are not alone. If we all stay silent, things never change and they never get challenged. I'm happy to be a voice to those who are too afraid to speak up. I hope that in time I can inspire some of you to stand this ground with me and walk with integrity and pride for our community, and to send a unanimous message that conversations aren't bad, questions aren't bad, accountability isn't bad. What's bad is fear-mongering and cyberbullying, and it needs to end here. Our kids deserve better, and our community deserves better. We have the power to strengthen it and truly look out for the well-being of all, not just ourselves. Thanks so much for listening and for all of the kind words you've sent me over the past week. You are very much appreciated. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to my podcast, share it with somebody that you know, leave a comment. I want to hear from you, and I really, really appreciate it. Have a great day.